guys, my name is Omkar Jagdare and I'm coming at you from Detroit, Michigan. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to find an internship in US. Alright, so I'm going to cover three topics in this. Number one is when to apply for an internship if you're an immigrant, obviously. Then the second is your mindset while you're applying for internship. And number three is how to really apply for internship. So I'm going to show you on my screen how I would apply for an internship if I was to do it over again. All right, so let's jump right into the topic. So imagine this. So you want to find a job for, imagine, summer of 2022. So the best time to apply for a job which you wanted to start in May of 2022 would be November. So about 6 to 7 months before you can start, as a matter of fact, as soon as you come. But in my opinion, 6 months before is a great time to start applying. Now, you have to understand one thing. When you're applying for an internship, there are a lot of jobs which will ask you, do you need sponsorship or something like that? You can say no. I would say no, because sometimes that might keep you from getting an internship. So to be honest, your goal with an internship is just to get an experience. Your goal is not to find a company that will sponsor you or something like that, in my opinion, initially, if you don't have any prior experience. Okay, now if you're applying to companies like tech companies like Microsoft, Facebook, stuff like that, and even bigger companies, they will usually sponsor their individuals. They will usually, but it's okay for you to say that you don't need sponsorship at this point of time, because you don't want that to stop you from getting an internship and getting an experience. Okay. Second, never go for a free internship. Always go for a paid internship. If you go for an internship which doesn't pay you, you may get experience, but in my opinion, it's not a fair trade. You won't feel like you're doing the best. You won't feel good from your heart. So you want to go for something that is paid, preferably paid well. Okay. In my opinion, any internship in US which pays more than, let's say, $15 to $17 is a great internship. Now if you're working in bigger cities, you might get $30-40 also if you're lucky. If you're working in tech or computer science, you might get $30-40 very easily, but those are exceptions. So $15 to $20 is a great internship for, in my opinion, for you to get started with. All right, so let's look at your mindset when you're applying for jobs. So I remember a mentor of mine once told me, like, when you're applying for jobs, imagine this. He said this, that finding a full-time job is a full-time job in itself. So you have to put in 30-40 hours a week to find that. So if you're going to find an internship, in my opinion, you don't need that much amount of time, but I would dedicate a specific amount of time every single week. In my opinion, about 10 to 15 hours every single week for 3 to 4, 5, 6 months until you find an internship, in my opinion, to be honest, because you came to America to do your master's and find a job, isn't it? So you should, that is your duty. So you don't run away from your duty. You can't say, I'm so busy doing part-time or etc. that I don't have time to find a job. You can't say that, right? Like, you can't say, I'm so busy doing part-time that I don't have time to study or don't have time to go to school. So that is a wrong excuse, in my opinion. Okay, that is a cop-out. Don't do that. So find time. Make sure your priorities are well defined. Okay, so what kind of mindset you have? So the best thing I would do, imagine this, if you were to have a full-time job, what time would you go to your job? You'd go to the job from like 9 to 5, right? So in my opinion, you should also apply to these internships between 9 to 5. To be honest, I would literally like wake up in the morning. I would dress up in a nice shirt, put on a nice shirt, and start applying, and sit in front of a computer and start applying for new jobs or internships. That's what I would do. As a matter of fact, I remember doing the same when I was going through my last semester in my college, and when I was looking for a full-time job. I would every morning take a shower, I would dress up from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would apply for 10 to 15 jobs every single day. I would literally wouldn't come home for lunch. I would go and sit at an internet cafe, and my leasing office has free internet, so I would just go and sit there and just keep applying for jobs there. So that is the mindset you should have. So the mindset is, number one, you're gonna apply to jobs during working hours. So because it just makes sense in my opinion. Okay, now if you're busy during that time, you're doing something else, you can use the evening hours to do that, but morning time is in my opinion 9 to 5 is the best. All right, second, one of the things that happens is like people do a very little work. They'll apply for like 5 jobs or 10 jobs in 3 weeks, and they'll say, hey, I'm not hearing anything. They'll apply for like 20 jobs. They are like, oh, I applied for 20 jobs, it's been a month and I haven't heard anything from anyone. Now that is, that is not right, folks. You want to do a bunch of work. You do a lot of work and expect small results instead of doing small work and expecting big results. So that's what you do. In my opinion, I remember I applied to over 300 companies in Detroit metro area to find an internship. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even get, even after that 300 companies I applied to. I had made a list of every company I had applied to, and eventually what happened, I ran out of companies in Detroit area. So I took my list and I went back to it and I started reapplying to these companies. I started sending my resumes on some random email, whichever I would find on the website, and I would send it to them. And that's how I found one of the companies that called me back, that replied to it, and they called me for an interview, and I found it, and I found my internships. So you don't know how you're gonna find it. So I would say, make sure, I would put a goal for yourself. I would say apply for 10 jobs a day for next 90 days. So if you take out the weekends, you should be applying for about 500 plus jobs in next 90 days, because that is perfect amount of work in a small amount of time. So you do a lot of work in small amount of time, and that will also improve your chances of doing interviews, and you have this built-in momentum going into your interview. So even if, let's say for example, if you have, let's say 2 or 3 interviews set up over 2-3 weeks, even if you flunk one of the interviews, you're fine. There's another there's another interview waiting for you. So that is the mindset of abundance. So you want to develop this abundance mindset by working hard, by putting in the work. So your self-image, your confidence will be dependent on your work ethic and not some fluke of whatever. So let's jump into how to apply for an internship. Okay, so let's look at this. So I'm gonna share my screen here and let's check it out. So now I've done a simple search here which says civil engineering internships in Detroit. So now you can see there are multiple companies that have already, I can see that there are multiple companies that are looking for civil engineers. There is my company that is already looking for one. I haven't heard of this one, to be honest. That's another department. I'm in a civil department. But okay, let's look at it. Civil engineering intern, Giffel Webster's. All right, so then there is Arup. And there is Stonefield Engineering and Design. So if you really see, I've already worked at this company. I worked at, obviously, I work for WSP USA. And then there are all these companies who are hiring people. There are a bunch of companies hiring people. Look at that, how many jobs I'm finding just in Detroit metro area. So when people tell me I've applied to a lot of jobs and I'm not hearing, you may be doing something wrong. You may be not applying to enough companies, or you haven't figured out how to get your resume in the HR's hands, how to get your resume in the HR's this thing. Okay, all right, so let's look at this. So here's what I would do. Now first thing what I would do, I would apply to this job on this website. Whatever this website is, I would go here and apply. Then second thing I would do is I would also copy this and I will go to their website here. Okay, so let's go to their website, find this. Okay, so let's look at this one first. All right, so you can see average salaries for this area and stuff like that, and boom, you go ahead and you apply. All right, so you figure out how to apply there. Second way of doing that is, look at that, Giffel Webster's, you go to careers and you will see what they are looking for. So you can see what they are looking for, let's say. All right, okay, look at that. So civil engineering intern, civil engineer, entry level, look at that, how many jobs they have. And now let's say you can even apply here. Why not? What's stopping you? And here's the thing, look at that, they're saying to introduce yourself, please submit a letter and resume by email. So if you just did the minimum work, if you just applied here, you wouldn't have found this email, wouldn't it? So what you did is you increased your chances by, now what I would do, I would copy this email, I would go to my email and I would just copy paste and send in a resume, and I would say simply, hey, my name is XYZ and I'm looking for an internship position at this, and I currently work at this. Please find the attached resume. That's it. You're done. So you have multiplied your chances of getting inside the HR's email box by so many times, folks. And this is how you find a job. This is exactly how I have found all 3 of my last jobs, because I was smart enough, or I was stupid enough to believe that this would work. So that's what is my secret, to be honest. And also, last thing I'll say this, and I'll let you go, is here's the thing, folks. Finding a job in America is a skill, and you need to develop this skill. You are not going to just work one job in America. God heaven's sake, you are going to be fired one day. I'll be honest with you. If you haven't lost your job till yet, just wait for some time and it will happen to you, because everybody goes through it, folks. So you will have to figure out how to find a new job. So it makes sense to figure it out the first time you're doing it, just figuring it out how to do it. And once you figure out that pattern, you just have to write it down or remember it, and then whenever you need it, you go back to it and you start applying. You start putting the hammer down and you start applying. And that is what been my secret, folks. Okay, I think that's all I had for you, but I had a great time talking to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. All the best.